I'm sure you've seen as of late all over the news with respect to this, trying to educate the folks in his community as to what's happening and what law enforcement is doing. I also want to just give a quick shout out to Chief Reamer from the Kansasville Fire Department. He opened his doors voluntarily tonight to welcome this community to come together and put things together. So thank you, Chief. I appreciate that.
Thank you guys for what you're doing.
So why are we here tonight? I recognize that we have been doing quite a bit of news media coverage. We've talked to news media. Nothing against them. I know their cameras are rolling, but they only have so much tape they can put out there. And sometimes we don't get all the information when we're sitting at home as to what Sheriff Beth and I are doing to keep you safe. And perhaps more importantly, what you can do to keep yourselves safe. We can't be on every street corner as you can imagine, and we're asking for some assistance tonight as well. That said, and I think it's important for those who aren't really fully up to speed with this individual, I'm going to ask Sheriff Beth just to kind of outline a little bit, if you would, as to what brought us here. Why do you have both sheriffs in both counties standing here before you tonight talking about this individual, and as to why are we conducting a manhunt on him as well? So Sheriff Beth, could you please explain to the group?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, unfortunately, I thought that I was just the eye candy of the group, so I thought that's why you invited me.
That is true. He is the handsome one.
I'm trying to lighten it up a little bit because this area is wound really tight. And I've known Andrew since he was in grade school. Andrew, and I'm not sugarcoating this at all, and you'll be able to figure that out. He's been a criminal since he was in grade school. He's been a thief. He's stolen snowmobiles, ATVs, tractors, cars, skid loaders. And we caught him in some of them, but he's stolen a lot more. And as you're nervous about where we live and he circles around here, I can't guarantee anything. But Andrew, as far as I know, has never broken into a house. He's never, if you're afraid of sleeping in your house, I could just about guarantee don't. This is not what he's about. The one person that we believe he killed was a drug dealer that I believe robbed his nephew, and this was a payback. That's who we found deceased. Do I believe that could anything happen? Yes, it could. But do I believe that all of you are in harm's way in your homes? I don't believe that for a second. Could he come to any of the neighborhoods, because we get into a chase, we chase him down, and steal your car if you leave the keys in it? Yeah, he did that once. But most of the cars he's stolen, or vehicle he's stolen, are people that he has a connection to, and he went back and stole it somehow, whether it be a business, a car dealer, a business owner that had the Mustang in a back shed. He's had connections to all but the one Dodge van that he had. Andrew Obregon grew up in Brighton, about 3 miles from my house, and when he was in grade school, he didn't wake up in time for school. So for a week, when I was a dare officer, I went to his house and picked him up on time to get him to school. And Sheriff Schmelian's goal tonight is to ease your minds a little bit. And one thing I want you to feel pretty sure about is he's not breaking in your house. I really don't believe that he's going to do that at all. I don't believe that. And I'm hoping that $5,000 reward will make whoever's giving him his drugs, which is I believe why he's hanging around here, will say, you're worth $5,000 to me, 911, come and pick him up. That's the goal. So I'm going to boot it back to Sheriff Schmelian here. They take it into your stuff?
You're good. Thanks, Sheriff Beth, for that. Just a couple of things. I think Sheriff Beth did a very nice job of talking about some of the things we have been doing, but I want to underscore just a couple of things that I think is vital. We were chasing this individual in that Mustang, incredibly fast, by the way. Speeds were well over 100 miles an hour. I heard one report 130, possibly even 140. Now, when you have an individual like this who's being accused potentially of a homicide, he has absolutely nothing to lose. Okay, so he's driving that car, running through red lights, running through stop signs, driving like he could care less what the outcome is going to be. My deputy sheriffs, on the other hand, exercise due diligence. They care about the community. They care about their own lives. So where he is running through red lights, we were coming to a near stop. And when I heard, in fact, my chief deputy and I were out on patrol that day, and I was coming into Union Grove hearing this, trying to get in front of it, I quickly realized that there is no way on earth I'm going to get in front of something that's going 100+ miles an hour, as much as I was trying to, but yet keep myself and the citizens safe. I heard my deputies talk about how they wanted to pull it back. As Sheriff Beth mentioned, we kind of pulled back because we know our community, we know what's going on in Union Grove, and the last thing I want to do is knock on your door and tell you that your child that just pulled out of Union Grove High School was just killed. Because we didn't exercise due diligence. Now, our thought process at that time was if we pulled back, he would see that, and maybe, just maybe, he might pull back. There's an unintended consequence to pulling back. We lost him. It's unfortunate we lost him. We tried to set up a perimeter where he was at, but now we live in a great rural community. Trying to get a perimeter set up in a large area is very, very challenging. I don't care how many squad cars you put out there at that time. That is a challenge, folks. It really is. And just to, again, to underscore the number of squad cars we've been putting out, I'm not going to sort of divulge into our strategy, if you will, or our game plan, but I can assure you that I have additional squads out here 24 hours a day. And I'm not talking about just one additional guy driving around. We have additional squads 24 hours a day out here. In fact, I was talking to this gentleman, he's from Tennessee, but he's here with us in Racine County, and I believe you said you were stopped 4 times in a white Dodge pickup truck, which was really so, but he's been very kind to us on each one of those stops, but that just underscores what I'm talking about. We're very diligent in finding him, hopefully safe, but he's been very pleasant. Thank you, by the way, for that. So if any of you have been encountering my deputies, you recognize they have the same level of passion that Sheriff Beth and I have. We want to get this individual caught. We want to do so safely. I know he's made comments to friends and family, and I think you had mentioned he made comments to a family member that he's going to go out with a bang. He wants to shoot it out with us. I don't want to see that happen, but we are trained for that if it does happen. I'd love to see him just turn himself in tonight after this broadcast. It would be great, and we can all rest at ease. But I also agree with Sheriff Beth. He is not the type of person who's probably going to break down your door. I know we had an individual recently in Burlington who accidentally shot herself. I know a number of people have asked me that, and she indicated that she was trying to protect herself from this individual, Obregon, and that's all good and fine. I would never tell a citizen in this county to not protect yourself or take some reasonable degree to protect yourself. But I would caution you not to use alcohol or drugs while handling a loaded firearm. I don't mean to make light of that. I'm glad to hear that she's going to make a recovery, but you don't handle guns and drink and use drugs. It's just a deadly combination, as you can imagine. That said, I recognize that we're all, we like our privileges of the Second Amendment and with firearms. If we're going to use those and keep those loaded, I know out here a lot of folks like to keep a loaded shotgun in the corner. I'm fine with that. Just remember, when you call 911 first, the cavalry's coming. And the person you might be aiming at might be me running through your yard. So just be cautious of that. It might not happen, but just be cautious of what you're doing and where you're aiming that weapon at. I don't want to be at the other end of it, and I certainly don't want to bury one of my deputies. So please be aware of that. Lastly, where do we go from here? What are we looking for? And what do we do when we see something? If we see a suspicious vehicle down our road, in our driveway, the lights are off, or something just isn't adding up, somebody's milling through your backyard, milling through the farm field, and you're just not certain, don't dig around looking for a non-emergency number. This is a type of situation where call 911. That's what we're out there for. We have extra squads out there. You're not bothering us. I can tell you in investigations, I've worked for many, many years, sometimes it's the most insignificant piece of information that was brought forward to us that proved to yield the best results. So if you see something, say something. You're not bothering me, trust me. Call and report it. We'll send a deputy out there. We'll report back to you if it was something of significance. Who knows, you might find this person taking a nap in his truck in the back 40 someplace. Call us and we'll approach them and we'll take care of it, okay? Am I missing something, Sheriff?
Probably, but we'll get asked it. If you guys have not, people ask, well, how can I help? Well, being vigilant. On the way here, I was coming up through Paddock Lake, and I thought I saw a vehicle that matched his. I turned around and went to go try to catch it. And I got the license plate and I ran it. It wasn't him. If you see something that's out of the ordinary, Sheriff's brought it up, call us. We are going to go look into it. If you see something, especially farmers, right now the corn is starting to come down. If you see vehicles, now we have an issue with people are out goose hunting and pheasant hunting soon and deer hunting in that too distant future. Turkey season next week?
Trapping season.
Trapping season next week.
Thousands of guys shutting the lights off and pulling into cornfields, checking their food traps.
There we go. So are we going to have issues with that? Yes, but we're going to check those out. Call it in. he has been, he's been pulling cornfields. He likes cornfields. And we have, the helicopter has issue if it's under, if you're under trees or under something, it cannot pick up heat through that. So if he's parked underneath some kind of cover, we have a hard time picking it up. Let me see. If you're nervous, obviously you're not alone. Everyone's nervous. My wife is nervous. I live 2 miles from here. My wife is nervous too. And I try to reassure her, it's okay. He really isn't going to come and get me and you because he knows who we are. He doesn't want the average person to see him. He doesn't want that. Is the average person going to see him out driving around? I believe a lot. I bet people in here have seen him drive past, you just didn't know it. I believe the biggest risk that we have is on the road and not at your house. If we get into a chase, if we see him, he really could give a hoot about the people that he's going to blow a red light at. For you, for your family members, for your sons and daughters as they're out driving, especially kids who aren't accustomed to looking both ways real good, this is the time where you learn, look way down the road this way, way down the road that way to make sure you don't see something flying down the road that isn't going to stop. My biggest fear is someone's going to get hurt on the road. It really isn't in your house. It really is not. And I hope, and I believe that. Could I be wrong? I could, but I don't think so. He's a thief. And right now, he's scared. And I've been told that he's a coward if he's not high on crack. And I hope that's when we catch him. Because if he's on crack at the time, we're going to see the other Andy Obregon.
Which is also concerning naturally. People that use drugs like that become desperate, and he knows law enforcement naturally is looking for him, so that's obviously a concern. You know, up until I think it was last year, we only had one home invasion I can recall in my last 20 years on the job. In fact, it was here in Kansasville. You folks may recall that. That was a very, very isolated incident. I can tell you home invasions, meaning you're at home sleeping or enjoying your family time, and someone breaks into your home. That is incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. It was the only time I heard of that happening last year in the last 20 years since I've been in this line of work. So I'm not suggesting everyone just step down and sit back and not pay attention. As Sheriff Beth said, let's remain vigilant. Let's not be overly scared of our own shadows. We see something, let's say something, report it, call 911, let us do our job, and take reasonable steps, folks, to protect yourself. I don't think we need to, you know, sit out in the front porch with our shotguns. I mean, I don't say that laughing. Seriously, there are some folks that have, I'm ready for the fight kind of thing, and I don't think we need to quite draw that line just yet. How about we take this opportunity and answer some questions? I'm sure we'll just kind of go systematically through this way and work our way around. Sir, we'll start with you.
One question I have is, you know, what rights do we have if I run across somebody in one of my barns or one of my sheds, and obviously I'm out there with a firearm when I do my checks in morning and evenings. Do I have a right at that point?
I'm going to throw this back at you. I have a deputy sheriff that is checking on something, is walking back behind your barn. Mm-hmm. You come out and you shoot him.
All right.
Guess who's going to prison?
Well, understandable.
Okay, now just bring up, you brought it up.
Reasonable and prudent, I think, are the words we're going to take.
If I find someone behind the wood pile or inside one of the...
Yeah, because all of our deputies are not in uniform right now.
Right.
We have we have U.S. Marshals helping us, we have tons of investigators in plain clothes. As you drove around through this area and through Kenosha, you have passed U.S. Marshals, Racine, and Kenosha personnel in plain clothes.
I mean, I had a tactical officer come down my driveway last Wednesday.
Yeah.
We had dialogue.
So before you would do that, get on that phone, carry your phone with you, and dial 911. Will this come to an end as soon as we catch him? Yes. And I wish it would come to an end tonight.
I think the key words are reasonable and prudent.
Right.
You know, the Castle Doctrine is there. You have every right to protect yourself. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm running through neighborhoods. Sheriff Beth is. I have an investigator right here tonight wearing a black sweatshirt. It actually kind of looks a little bit. I'm kidding, Chad. But you see my point. He's going to have a few words for you, Sheriff. If you can imagine, now let's make it 2 in the morning, and light is of an issue, and he's walking back there looking around. I can see that could be an issue. And it would be an issue for me as well if I was in your farm and out there. He would be given some very specific instructions very quickly. But let's not shoot and ask questions later. Let's ask some questions. And so.
Last Friday, I was going through people's yards on a four-wheeler. And I was being led by people that know Andy Obregon extremely well. And we were going through all kinds of different places. So could you have shot me last week? That's a possibility. And maybe this week.
Does Andrew have a vehicle now?
The vehicles that we're aware of that Andy has. Andy owns a red Ford pickup truck. We believe he spray painted it, a really crappy job, black. We believe that because we've got no other reports of trucks like that missing, so that's what we believe. We found the dually. That is a vehicle that we know that he has. And could there be a couple other vehicles that he could have? Yes. There's another one that I'm familiar with, but I'm not going to tell you what that is, and there's a reason for that. But could he swap out at any given time? He's already stolen a half dozen cars. So could he be driving a new Chrysler, tonight, and I don't know it. So the black one is what I'm sure of, and there's another one too. Dan? Was there another one?
That's the only one.
Got it.
He's a career criminal and an opportunist. So, there's a question back here. Yes, sir.
I mean, it's been alleged that he murdered this guy, and he's a crackhead, and he's carrying a gun. He's not a nice guy, and if he's high on crack, he's desperate. I mean, you could break into somebody's house, so people should be vigilant.
That's what I was thinking too.
You don't know what's going through his mind.
Absolutely. I didn't say he couldn't do it. I'm saying the odds of it aren't really good. But could anything happen? Yes. Anything could happen. But I think you'd be more likely to have someone who wasn't Andy Obregon break into your house right now than him.
But you're right, sir. We should remain vigilant with that. We're just going off his past criminal history and how he's normally acted.
I'm going to blame that on the media. You overloaded the circuit.
Seeing as desperate. I'm sorry? Who's going? I think this gentleman right behind you. Go ahead, sir. Yes, in the green?
I'm not sure what day it was. I want to say maybe it was Friday, but on 18th Street, there was a lot of activity. It looked like
Search warrant.
And from what I understand, it was you, Sheriff Beth, that called off that flush. They were planning to flush them out, and that's called off. I don't understand that.
I don't understand what you're asking me.
On 18th Street, in the evening, I think it was Friday, my daughter drove by there and she said there was a lot of police activity there and they had big guns. And I believe it was, from what I understand, it was the marshals, and there was a plan. They thought they knew where he was and they were going to flush him out.
I was out there driving him on an ATV.
But then it was called off.
I was out there driving through the area on an ATV. It was never called off. I was driving the ATV with 3 other people looking for him.
Okay,
So the rumor that you heard obviously is incorrect.
The plan with the marshals went through?
Yes, that's what I just told you.
Okay.
One second.
I'll let you go.
We have one guy here.
Yeah, knowing that he is desperate, is there, do you guys have information, or is it probable that he's being assisted, and does he have somebody harboring him, or, because he's been out there a while, and
I don't have all the answers, and even some of that I couldn't tell you.
I heard today they saw him in Waterford, is he around, you hear this.
I didn't hear that rumor.
Yeah.
I can tell you, our encounters thus far he's been by himself thus far. He hasn't had anyone else in the car that we can tell. Again, as Sheriff Beth mentioned, there are some parts of the investigation that we have to hold back with, obviously, because we're trying to catch him. And also with vehicle descriptions and in terms of our strategy and how we're trying to do it, in terms of getting him caught safely, I think is something that we got to be cognizant of, our strategy, if you will. We don't want to tilt our whole hand, because
No, I
obviously this is
understand.
broadcasted to the entire community and news media and whatnot. I don't know if he's watching potentially this evening, and now he hears us collectively talking about our strategy. I just don't want to give all that away. So, good question, though. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Does Andrew Oberon have any visible tattoos or markings that you know?
He has tattoos on his chest, on his arm. I believe. Everything should be covered up, though. There's nothing really visible.
Did you hear that, miss? Tattoos on his chest and possibly his arm, but nothing real visible. Typically, everything's covered. Yes, sir.
With all due respect to the farmers, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of corn go down. Why aren't we taking the corn down in Brighton? I mean, can we, I'm not a farmer, but
Moisture is too high.
If you-